Today we're getting a little fancy with this slow cook extra tender short rib dish. I'm going to show you how to make this super garlicky mashed potato as well as how to make the easiest short rib of your life, and I'm going to show you a simple way how to make a beautiful glaze. Also, fun fact, it was my birthday a few weeks ago and I'm going to be using a few new kitchen gadgets I got. Now hold on tight to those taste buds and let's get it. First things first, I'm going to put on this new apron I got for my birthday. Let me know what you guys think and how you like it. Now head on over to the oven and set the temperature to 350 degrees convectional bake. I'm going to next grab a ramekin and then fill it up with a bunch of garlic cloves. I'll then pour in olive oil into my ramekin until the garlic is fully submerged. Once submerged, I'm going to cover it with aluminum foil and then throw it in the oven for 1 whole hour. I'm going to next grab a medium pot and then fill it up with water until you hit the halfway mark, and then I'll throw it onto a burner set to high heat so that it may reach a boil. I'll grab a little over 2 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes, and with a peeler I'm going to peel the skin off all the potatoes. Aim for a little bit more than 2 pounds because when you peel the skin you'll lose a decent bit of weight. I'm also going to place my peeled potatoes in a bowl with water. Depending how fast you work, your potatoes may brown and the water will prevent that from happening. Once all the potatoes are peeled, I'm going to take my knife and then give it a rough dicing. The smaller you dice them, the faster they'll cook in the water, but I would suggest dicing them to whatever length you feel most comfortable with and try to keep them roughly the same size. After dicing, I'll strain my potatoes out of the water and give my pot a generous pinch of salt. I'll then throw all my potatoes into my pot of boiling water, and please be more careful than me because I got water everywhere and my pot was filled way too much. So learn from my mistakes. Either way, I'm gonna leave the pot to boil for 10 minutes, but I'll check on the potatoes in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, we're gonna test to see if our potatoes are cooked. Also, please ignore those short ribs to the left. We'll get to there soon, I promise. With a fork, try and poke your potato, and if it's not easily going through, it needs to cook for a little bit longer. I did about 3 more minutes worth of cooking, and then I did the same test, and boom, the fork went clean through and they're cooked. Now I'm gonna strain my potatoes and put them in the same metal bowl as before and move on to our meat. We are working with some beautiful short ribs. There's plenty of meat and fat which we're gonna fully render when we cook it. But first, we're gonna generously coat each of these pieces with salt. Don't be shy with the salt either. Make sure you're getting each and every side of it. From there, I'm gonna grab 2 shallots and split them in half, peeling away the outside skin, and then I'm gonna whip out one of my favorite new toys that I got for my birthday, which is a vacuum sealer. I'm gonna grab a vacuum seal bag and throw in half of our short ribs, followed by 2 halves of our shallots. I'm also gonna throw in 3 cloves of garlic, as well as 1 sprig of rosemary and a few sprigs of thyme. I'll open up my vacuum sealer, closing down the clamp and pressing a button, and watch the magic happen. You can see it sucking out all of the air from the bag, and when I open it up, you'll see that there's a nice seal on the top. I'm going to give the bag a second seal just in case, and that's it. I'm going to do the same thing for the rest of my short rib, and it's important to mention that you should be fairly quick about this process once you've salted your short ribs. The salt will pull a lot of moisture out, which can make vacuum sealing very difficult. From there, I'm going to go back to my potatoes, and with a potato ricer, I'm going to squeeze the potatoes through it. If you don't have a potato ricer, you could just hand mash them, but I do really enjoy using my ricer. I mean, look at that. Is that not satisfying and disturbing at the same time? Once all my potatoes have been mashed, I'm going to crank some fresh black pepper and give it a few heavy pinches of salt before putting in 1 whole stick's worth of butter. And if you're freaking out about how much butter we're using, just remember, you're eating short rib. This is not a healthy meal to begin with. So take a deep breath and live a little. Now, after incorporating that butter fully into your mashed potatoes, 1 hour has passed and it's time to grab the ramekin out of the oven. And as you can see, we have some nicely caramelized garlic. Now, this will change depending how much you like garlic, but I personally love it. So I'm gonna grab all of the garlic out of this ramekin, and in a small bowl, I'll crush the garlic as best I can with with a spoon. I'll then toss that roasted garlic into my mashed potatoes along with 3 to 4 tablespoons of oil as well, giving it a thorough mixing, and you're done. You'll have to salt it to taste, but if you like garlic and potatoes, you're gonna love this mashed potato. Oh my God, that's good. Oh my God, that's so good. That's stupid good. I'm gonna pour the potatoes into a container and then store in my fridge. Now it's time for me to grab my second gadget, which this was technically a Christmas gift, but it's a sous vide. This part is super quick and very easy, but I'm gonna fill up my container with water and then I'll turn on my sous vide, setting it to 165 degrees for 24 hours. I'll then throw in our short ribs and that's it. I'm gonna leave it there overnight and check in the next day. One whole day later, you can see my short ribs have been sitting in the water for 19 hours now. I'm gonna pull them out of the water and something has happened. Not only are they fully cooked, but a lot of the juices have rendered out of the meat and the fat. And I forgot to do this on camera, but when I gave the bag a squeeze, you could feel the meat just wants to melt and fall apart. I'm gonna set my short ribs aside to cool, and now I'm gonna work on my optional gremolata. Gremolata? Either or. It's super simple though. Just take a little bit of parsley, giving it a fine mince, and then zest 1 lemon, giving it a mince as well, followed by crushing and mincing 1 clove of garlic and putting that all into a container with black pepper, salt, and a very light amount of olive oil. Give it a mixing, and now you have a beautiful topping for your short ribs. Now I'm gonna grab my short ribs, giving the corner a snip with scissors, and I'm gonna pour out all my juices into a measuring cup. I got about 3/4 of a cup worth of liquid. I'll then open the rest of the packaging, and I gotta say, the smells that are coming out are insane. So good that here are my honest reactions in camera to when I open the bag. Wow, I just gotta say, this smells absolutely insane right now. This smells so good. Holy cow. Now I'm gonna pull the short ribs out of the bag, and if you're curious to see if it's tender, just know that that bone came out with 0 force. I'm gonna set the short ribs aside, and then I'm gonna grab the cheapest Merlot wine I could find. This one I found was $8, and you can also just use a non-alcoholic box wine. Those work fine just as well. After opening the bottle, I'll pour in 1/4 of a cup of wine into a measuring cup, and I'll also grab 1 tablespoon of butter, splitting it in half and storing it back in the fridge to stay cool. Now it's time to sear our short ribs and make our glaze as well. Bring a medium saucepan to high heat and put enough vegetable oil to coat the bottom. I'll then drop my short rib top side down into the pan and give it a hard sear for 1 minute. 1 minute later, you can see a nice little crust has formed on top. I'm going to sear the bottom of my short rib as well for just 30 seconds, and then I'll move it onto a sheet tray to rest. With your still hot pan, you're gonna pour in all of your beef juice, followed by a few sprigs of thyme and the 1/4 cup of wine. Now I want to reduce this liquid until we get a thick glaze-like consistency. I'm gonna leave it on high heat, stirring occasionally and watching carefully to not over-reduce the liquid. After about 5 to 8 minutes, my sauce has been reduced to my desired thickness. I'll turn off the heat and then throw in our tablespoon of cold butter, mixing until fully incorporated into our sauce. I'll remove the thyme, and now you have a nice semi-thick glazy sauce for our short ribs. All we have to do now is assemble everything together. I'm going to heat up the mashed potatoes and throw down a generous amount into the center of my plate. I'll then drizzle in a little bit of our glaze on the bottom before placing our beautifully seared short rib on top, followed by drizzling our glaze over the short rib and then crowning this meal with a little bit of that bright green gremolata. And you're done. You have a beautifully, very elegant and delicious short rib with garlic mashed potatoes. And I'm just going to show you my genuine reaction to trying this meal. That's insane. That is so good. Oh my God. Listen, this is insane. It's tender, it's super flavorful. The garlic is prominent in the mashed potatoes. If you don't make this, you're just not doing life right. Make it right now, make it for your loved ones, or just make it for yourself. Holy cow. There you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I understand that some of you might not have the same equipment that I do, but let me know in the comment section below if you would want me to recreate this recipe using more simpler cooking tools. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for sticking to the end and have a wonderful rest of your day.